Hey, what's up, everyone? Hope you're doing well. What's up, Golf Professor? Welcome in. Yeah, so I changed of plans. I was gonna do some Great League battles as well, but my Elgato capture card is not working for some reason. I've been trying to get it to work for like a hot minute, so that's why the stream's starting later than I originally planned. But that being said, we'll just get straight into a tier list instead. Because I want to make sure you are as well-knowledge as possible going into the season of Great League, as well as future stuff. So, well, I'm not going to wait too long for other people to come in. We can always just, I'll always upload this later as a YouTube video for anyone that misses the live stream. So, what I did last time around is that I created a extinction tier list for Great League, primarily. And all the Pokemon on this tier list right now were what I evaluated. And for the most part, the tiers were the same. Top meta was the same. Meta was, I think, I listed as probably meta, I think, or solid. I think I put solid for A tier. And then for B tier, I put probably good. C tier was probably bad. And then the rest are the same. So, obviously, at this point in time, we have more information. We know the entry numbers. So, instead of probably bad, it's just bad. Instead of probably good, I'm going to just list as fringe meta. And then instead of solid, it'll just be meta. Fringe meta essentially is kind of more like spice picks. Things that you won't see super common and it might not work consistently. But it has some utility here or there. And this will relate to specific Great League and then both GBL and the official championship series format, Show 6, Spring 3. So that being said, I'll get started with this. If you have any questions or suggestions or thoughts, whatever, feel free to drop it in the live chat. Otherwise, we'll just get straight into this. And let me just sort by... Yeah, there we go. So, to kick things off, let's evaluate the list I created last time before we go into newer Pokemon. Oh, Cranberry, where are you going? My cat, Cranberry, rarely goes up that high, but or rarely even sits on the cat tree. I don't know if she's scared right now or what. Maybe let's give her a treat, see if she could stay a little bit long. Oh, yeah. You know, she'd be fiending for these treats. Alright, let's just feed her one real quick. And then she usually licks my fingers afterward because she wants every crumb. Okay, let's talk about this tier list and move maybe some things around or keep them the same before we talk about the more newly buffed things. Right now that we have a better idea, because like I said last time, we didn't have the entry numbers, so we weren't really sure how strong certain things were going to be or how weak they are. But now we have the entry numbers, and there's been a couple of days of GBL as well, so I have some first-hand experience on how strong some of these things are. That being said, let's start from the top. Clodsire, number 1 in the meta. I think that's actually pretty appropriate. It feels super strong. You see it on almost every team. It has a lot of play into everything. Even its hard counters are usually not that hard of counters. Like, it has stuff to hit back with. The one thing that resists all its charge attacks is like Chestnut, but yeah, I mean, you have Poison Sting, and even then, like, Chestnut's just not very viable in general. So I wouldn't even consider that as something you would see often enough. But yeah, it has a lot of play into everything. So number 1 for a reason. It's number 1 on PvPoke as well, and I think that's accurate. Carbink is like number 6. Let me pull up PvPoke as well so we can have that side by side. But I believe it's number 6 on the PvP poke rankings, and it was number 2 last season. And kind of like last season, it just doesn't feel like it's a top meta Pokemon, even though the rankings might say otherwise. I think a lot of these rankings are just like how strong it is compared to the rest of the things in the ranking. But you know, the things in the ranking aren't necessarily meta, right? Because in reality, yes, Carbink might be strong, maybe you to beat a bunch of things, but in reality, you have like a Clodsire or a ground or 2 grounds on every team you face. So like, how much utility do you have, right? You have Feraligatr on every team. That also beats Carbink, right? You have Feraligatr, Clodsire on like almost half the teams, right? And you have Azumarill and all this other stuff. So I don't actually think it's that good. I wouldn't even put it meta. Let's just put it at top of fringe meta for now. It's kind of weird to say it's fringe, but I think it is more fringe. It has utility, but it's just not strong. Have I played any games? Yes, I have. I can tell you exactly how many games I played as reference. I played some Little Cup too. I played 70 battles, so I've seen a fair share. Carbink so alignment based, yeah. I think it's alignment based, but not only that, it just doesn't even beat a lot of things in the meta. So like, even if you have alignment, like it might not do much, right, into a specific team. Like you run to a Clodsire, Feraligatr, Azumarill team, where do you put it, right? And I think that's a very reasonable team to have. So you could see something like that pretty often. You know, yeah, it beats Manabuzz, but most Manabuzz teams have a Clodsire and like a Feraligatr too. So anyway, so I'll move that there. Feraligatr definitely feels like a S tier top meta Pokemon, so I'm keeping it up there. Manabuzz as well feels pretty strong. I'm gonna move it down maybe a little bit. I'll put it at the end for now. I think it's really strong in the meta, but I think there are a lot of things that still kind of beat it. Clodsire being one of them, but you know, it's like checks Feraligatr, but it still loses, and obviously it loses hard to Azumarill. Cresselia, I think, is not as strong as I would have imagined it to be. I think it's like solid, but there's a lot of things that kind of beat it, especially up shields. Like Feraligatr into Cresselia, I'd rather be the Feraligatr if you have 2 shields on both sides. Clodsire as well, like Manabuzz. You know, it's good into stuff like Gastrodon, but I think there's a lot of pretty much anything with the grass beats Gastrodon, right? So I'll put it as meta for now. I don't see it as much, and I don't see it like utilized as much too. Low kicks. Yeah, I don't know about that one. I don't even have that on the tier list, but it could be an interesting one. Didn't low kicks get counter, but counter got nerfed? I don't know. I want low kicks to work. I have a rank 1 for Ultra League that I'm like saving up XLs to build for who knows what reason. One Pokemon I did that for was Malmar back in the day, but it finally came around. So we'll talk more about that. But we have ourselves Azumarill, which I think is very appropriate, very, very strong meta. I would definitely put it pretty high up here. I think this is pretty appropriate because it has a lot of play into everything. It can beat Clodsire as well. It has play into Feraligatr, you know, all the dark fighters and stuff like that. Chargebug's kind of weird. You don't really see him much. There's so much ground everywhere, and like it's not like it got nerfed or anything. It's just the meta is so shifted so far towards these ground types and things that just Chargebug isn't as good into anymore. And there's no Skarmory. The main flyers you see are like Manabuzz, which has some play into it, even though Chargebug does beat it, and then Jumpluff, which Chargebug is just not as good into. So I actually put Chargebug in like fringe meta, which is kind of wild. I thought Chargebug would be a lot better, but like it's not really what people bring to counter Feraligatr, because if you beat Feraligatr, what happens? They come in with Clodsire and farm you down, right? Like, let's say they say swap Feraligatr, you come in Chargebug, beat it, and then the Clodsire leaves with like 1,000,000 energy. Yeah. Oh, look, he's got Sucker Punch, which is a counter clone. Maybe. I have yet to see low kicks, so perform well, and I don't even think it actually sims that well too. Let me just take a look real quick. Yeah, it's at 97. Like, it loses a Manabuzz, Clodsire, Azumarill, Feraligatr, Jumpluff, like everything in this S tier, right? Like it might beat like Malamar and like Cresselia, but like at that point, just like bring something else that beats it, right? Like a Manabuzz. That's my take at least. But I think if you enjoy it, feel free to use it, right? But I just don't know if it's gonna work. Ariados actually cooks. Yeah, Ariados is another one though. It's like it's okay, but it's like really hard to use in a ground meta, right? It's ranked like 93, right? It's just like hard to lose to Clodsire, and Clodsire being like the meta defining Pokemon really shifts a lot of the utility of some of these other stuff, I think. Then 4 of the 5 teams who run Clodsire and or Mudslapper, and it's boring now. yeah. See, so that's what happens, right? Because it's always fun the first few days, right? Because you're running into people running weird stuff. But then you start winning enough, right? Because I'm assuming you're probably beating a lot of the people, right? In the first few days. And you start winning enough, and you start facing the tryhards that are running the top meta stuff. And then you realize things like low kicks and Aridos just have no play, right? Or maybe not no play, but just very limited play. You know, I think that's usually the reality check that hits everyone at a certain point. Because I was thinking the same thing, right? I was running certain stuff. I didn't even do so good on the first set. I went like 3-2 my first set at rank 1. So I already knew it was going to be kind of a tough season. But all right, that being said, Wigglytuff, I'm actually also not very impressed by. There's a ton of Clodsire everywhere, so even though it could beat like Feraligatr, it still takes a lot of damage, and it just seems like it's not as good as you would think. There's also not really anyone running dragons. There's a couple fighters here and there, but there's not even that many fighters in dark types. Just again, Clodsire being everywhere, it's just so annoying for it, right? And again, and yeah, it could beat Feraligatr, but you still have to invest shields. Like, it's just not the best. So I'm also going to put Wigglytuff at fringe meta. I think it has more utility than... Honestly, I think it might have more utility than Carping, so I'll put it ahead of Carping. But yeah, so let's move down to the medic category. We already addressed Cresselia. I think Mandiba saying here's fine. We'll maybe move more stuff up there. Oh shoot, you're right. Abomasnow is not on here. Let me actually add Abomasnow, because that is something that is ranked really poorly, but it's actually really, really good in my opinion. Let me just add that real quick while we're here, so that I can have it for this full tier list, because yeah, that's actually a really good shout out. Shout out to who said Abomasnow. Yeah, Alphys, yeah. All right, so let's get Abomasnow in here real quick, and then I'll get quickly back to this tier list. I just need to... This addition will be important. All right. Hopefully it doesn't reset everything else. Otherwise, I have to go by memory of like what the heck has been up. Sorry, it's being a little bit slow. Okay. Alright. Yeah, those are some duplicates, which is why I have some of those removed. Or hidden, I guess. Yeah, no, Abomasnow is a really good mention, because I think it's good. Alright, everything's good back. Alright, we're good to go. So, yeah. I was having so much fun. Yeah, sorry, I read that part. Kid story time said, "Hi, Caleb. My son called the school bully hot garbage. He loves watching your tier videos." That's awesome. If you're a school bully, you sure are hot garbage. Yeah, but that's even worse, because you're hot garbage at life, not even a fictional Pokemon game tier. Yeah, it's Tryhard City. Now Clouds are running Sludge a lot too. Interesting. Sludge Bomb definitely has some utility. I don't have Shadow Cry. Is normal good? Yeah, normal solid too. I think Shadow is definitely better, but I think normal has a lot of utility. And it's like, you know, the Ice Beam from normal is still gonna like one-shot stuff, like close to one-shot, like jump left and things like that, right? And like the good news about the normal is that you still have the 2 to take out Clodsire even from the Shadow, so like you don't really lose something there. So I think the normal has a lot of utility. The downside of running the normal Feraligatr versus the Shadow is that the Shadow Frog can muscle through against the Azumarill much better. It muscles through a lot of matchups like Cresselia as well, because one Grass Knot's not enough to take out the Feraligatr, right? So the Shadow Claw damage and the Hydro Cannon really adds up. But yeah, they are in Rockets right now. Very Coated Gligar Copium. Yeah, it is. It's Mudboy season, specifically Gastrodon season. But we'll get more into that. So yeah, so we'll talk more about these. Sabewai also was kind of a fringe pick that I don't think is as strong, because there's Feraligatr everywhere, which just beats it because you just outpace the Sabewai. There's Azumarill everywhere. Occasionally there's Mandibuzz everywhere. I actually think it's pretty hard to bring. I would put it even less viable than Charjabug. I thought it'd be good with the Power Gen buff, but it's just that the things that everyone's running in this meta, it just makes it very, very hard to use. At least based on my experience in Great League. Registeel as well is really tough to use, kind of like Carbink, because it just gets walled off by Clodsire, and Clodsire everywhere. Fralgator can beat it with shields up. Azumarill obviously loses to it, and so does Manabus, but like it's so hard to use Registeel. Like it's just such a gamble. You get locked in to Clodsire, what are you going to do, right? Again, I'll probably put this in fringe meta as well because it just doesn't feel as strong as it should. There's Gashadon everywhere as well. Like it's bulky, it's got great coverage, but just not into this current meta, I think. Clodsire really just shifted a lot of things. Reggie's Ultra League only now? Yeah, I would think so. You could use Clodsire in Ultra League, which I have one that I could make, but I don't think it's actually as good in Ultra League. Gossamer's also been super underwhelming. I think it just lacks the bulk to match up against Clodsire. Yes, it's solid into Fralgator, but you still have to shield the Ice Beam, and you just had no play into Azumarill. And just a lot of other things just kind of outclass as generalists. So I put this pretty far down too. Honestly, let's just put it here for now. I don't know. It's just like I don't see any of these things, you know? Like it's hard to even say like what's a fringe meta pick at this point. Alolan Sandslash could be useful, but again, it's kind of like Fralgator. Like again, just outpaces too fast, right? You just don't even get the drill run fast enough. Azumarill kind of funky, and then Clodsire can hit back. It's not bad. It's not like good, you know. I'm trying to think where I would put this. I mean, I think you see it from time to time, and then you got like Gashadon everywhere. I don't know. I think it's okay. I'll put it top of fringe meta. I've seen more of this than Wigglytuff at least. Yeah. So I'm just adjusting my previous tier list from things that weren't buffed from from this recent season update, and then I'll talk about these because I never placed these in the last tier list. This was all from my last extinction tier list. I'm just trying to adjust and see if I need to make any changes before I add these. And there's some changes I need to make for sure. Serperior is also kind of a weird one. Like it's like okay, but it's not as good as I thought it would be. So I'll put it right around here because again, like you can't. Like if you're running Frenzy Blade Aerialways, you can't come into a Fralgator because if you do, they get to the Ice Beam. If they Safe Swap it, if you counter swap it right away, you're one turn behind. They still get to the Ice Beam before you get to the Frenzy Blade. So then you have to burn a shield, right? And then and if they bait you, then it's even more awkward because then do you bait at that point, right? It's just like weird. And like if that's your main check to like the top meta water, and you like sometimes lose that matchup, like what are you really using for? So and then of course Clodsire has a lot of play into it, especially with Poison Sting too. It's just like I don't know, it's like hard to bring. I actually don't think it's the best grass type, and you find out why later. Venusaur as well, similar issue. I think Venusaur I'll put slightly above Serperior because it has something to hit back against Jumpluff, and also it's just better into Serperior in the head-to-head matchup. Still not that good, but like again, I've seen more Venusaur be successful at least, but kind of fringe. No love for Ursaring, spelled it wrong. Yeah, I don't really know what Ursaring really does here. Ursaring's ranked 54. It's okay with Swift, but there's just like a lot more better normal types in my opinion. And the rankings would illustrate that too. Could we not actually have a Dunsparce here? Something's weird. Why don't I have Dunsparce here? Let me check this real quick, because I think there should be a Dunsparce somewhere here. Did I not do Dunsparce? I am slacking, if that's the case. Yeah, Dunsparce is not here for some reason. Let me add that too, because that should definitely be on this tier list. Licky's on there, but I missed Dunsparce somehow. Yeah, Dunsparce is one of the definitely the normal types that I think has a lot of utility right now, and a lot more utility than stuff like Ursaring. So definitely something to note. At least better than Slacking. Well, yeah. Well, that's kind of a low bar though, right? Like it's better than a Rattata as well when it comes to normal types, but like, you know, it's kind of these are maybe not the best choices. Okay. Cool. Let me just add this real quick, and then we should be good to go. All right. Let me just catch up on chat while this thing is loading. Yeah, I wish Scrafty got Sucker Punch so it could still check Fralgator. Yeah, Scrafty is just kind of tough to use, I think. The Superior into Gator feels true for so many Gator counts. You down one turn, it's over. Yeah, exactly. Or you're like, or you have to shield and they farm you down with like a Mana Buzz, right? And like that's uncomfortable too. It's just like it's not as easy to bring as one would imagine, I guess. All right. That's fine. Okay. Let's get back to this. So, yeah, so I moved all these grass down. We talked about these. Talonflame, I think, is also kind of fringe meta. I think it's okay. Like, it has some win cons against Gastrodon, which is kind of nice, but there's a ton of Feraligatr and a decent amount of Zumaro. I think it has a lot more utility in the Championship Series in Show 6. So I will put it here, because I think it's actually pretty solid in some of those respects, but it would be really hard to use in the current GBL meta, in my opinion. There's not a lot of targets for it. Skeledirge, I'm not a big fan of. There's a lot of things that's kind of beat it right now. So I don't even know if I put it as fringe meta. There's so many dark types too, right? There's so many dark types, so many water types, so many ground types. Like, what is it good for? Like, there's a little bit of Cresselia, but that's it. There's not even a lot of grass, you know? And if you want to really beat grass, just bring Mana Buzz or like Talonflame, right? So I'm actually going to put it kind of bad right now. I don't think it's good in this meta, at least in Great League. Magnezone, it's also just kind of weird. Like, yeah, it looks good on paper into like stuff like this, but like again, it's just like the Clotsar effect. It's just not that good, right? I'm actually gonna keep it just maybe behind Guzzlord. I haven't seen a single one of these be useful, to be honest, so I'll just put it here for now. But like, these are like all kind of interchangeable because they're like non-existent at the moment. Whimsicott, I think, could be okay, but it's just, I think out of the Fairy Wind buff things, it's not Whimsicott's, and I'll talk more about that later. But yeah, I don't think Whimsicott's like particularly amazing. I will put it, I don't know, I see it less than even like the other grass types, to be honest. Like, the Fairy Wind buff didn't do like that many favors for it, so I'll put it like here. I don't know, I don't really see it too much. Giratina, also kind of weird. There's a lot of, like, Azuma's, I mean, it has play into Azumarill, but it's a lot of Feraligatr, decent amount of Mana Buzz. There's a lot of dark types too. Kind of like the reason why, what else was not good? Oh, Skelders. Kind of why Skelders wasn't that good. I just don't think it's as good right now in this current meta. So I'm going to put it in bad for now. I think I'll put it here. It has a little more play than Skelders, but I don't think it's actually that good in this meta. And there's a decent amount of normal types mixed in, right? You sound set on Mana Buzz pick. Can't wait to see your Great League team in the high elo. Yeah, for sure. I'm actually not running Mana Buzz at the moment. Well, also, I don't have my elo yet. I don't think anyone does, but I've been running some different things and messing around. But I do think Mana Buzz is a huge problem. Be more prominent for Alligator as well too. There's just not a lot of things. The reason why Giratina is not that good is because electrics are pretty much out of the picture, right? You don't really see Charge Bug much. You don't see Magnezone. Like, that was one of the things that was really nice about Giratina, is it walled off Charge Bug, you know, pretty good into Magnezone for the most part, and walled off Lantern. But you don't see these main two electric types anymore, and you don't really see the fighters, like, you know, like, you don't see Annihilate around anymore, right? You see Pangoro, but that's not really a good matchup. So yeah. Umbreon, also just like way, like, not that good. It's not like bad into anything per se. It's just like most people just run Mana Buzz instead, right? You just have slightly better coverage, especially into the fighters. Whereas Umbreon is like not that good. I'll put it at fringe meta for now, but I'm really kind of tempted to put it in bad. Because it's just like there's too much Azumarill around too, you know? And what are you really going to bring it into? There's a decent amount of Jump Bluff as well. I don't know. I'll just put it at top of bad for now. Again, I just don't see a lot of utility for it. Mantine, I don't love either. Like, it doesn't really check a lot right now. Like, it's, you know, Clotsar's better into it with Poison Sting, and, you know, Wing Attack got nerfed as well, so it's just not as good as it used to be. And I would probably just put this as bad too. I don't know. I don't even know where it goes because it just doesn't have a lot of utility. Like, you know, it's one of the grasses is Jump Bluff that you see a lot, and even that has a lot of things to hit back with. So yeah, Goodra, I'd say it's probably fringe meta. It has a lot of play into a lot of these things, but it doesn't really beat anything either. So I'll just put it at fringe for now. I think it has more utility than some of these things though. Let's put it here. It's just not that good. It's not bad, but it's just not good, you know. Dewgong's an interesting one. I think Dewgong's actually pretty interesting. It core breaks this Mana Buzz Clotsire, and it has a decent amount of utility. There's a decent amount of Jump Bluff. I would say Dewgong's kind of meta. Not particularly strong meta, but I think it's actually pretty meta. I think it has a lot more utility. And it feels a lot safer and bulkier than Alolan Sandslash. I'll give it that. The main difference here is that this resists water damage, so it's much better to Feraligatr than Alolan Sandslash would be. Even though like the return moves are kind of slow and doesn't feel great. Yeah. A few days ago, I was using Dirge as a sort of Mana Buzz lure out, but it was always hit with the Gator and absolutely destroyed. Very fortunate. Unfortunate for it right now. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like it's a great strategy if you're trying to draw out the Mana Buzz. You hit back with it, Disarming Voice. But they come in Gator and you can't even get your move off before you get hit by the Hydro Cannon, right? So it's just like, you know, and then you don't want to shield because you're going to lose that matchup anyway. So, yeah, I think that's a proper assessment of Skeldurge. I haven't used it myself, but I've seen it like a sprinkle here there, and it's never really done any favors for my opponents. Continuing on the stuff that we haven't covered yet, Gallade, I'd say it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. Like what it doesn't really beat that much. Like Feraligatr kind of checks it down. You know, like it has coverage, but it just doesn't really beat stuff hard enough. Even like the Gastrodon Mud Slaps really start adding up, especially if you're in the Shadow variants, right? You just get like hit by too many things. Just on the bulk. Annihilate feels pretty bad right now. I haven't seen it at all. You know, it just feels bad. Mana Buzz is everywhere. Zumero's everywhere. It paces slow. Feraligatr just almost one-shots his Shadow variant. Like, it's just not very good. I'll put it at bad for now. I think Poliwrath's pretty bad too. I'll put Poliwrath ahead of these two because even though it's not that good, it still walls off the Feraligatr and it still has something to hit back at the Clodsire and the Mana Buzz, but just not that good. Like, you're just better off running a different water type or a different fighter if you need to. Quagsire I actually don't think is that bad right now. I would say it's not the best Mud Boy as a water ground. I would say that's Gastrodon, but I think Quagsire is still not bad. It's ranked number 12 on the rankings. Yeah, the Mudshot nerf slowed it down a bit, but its moves were still fairly cheap, so I would still put it at fringe meta. I think it's better than some of these other things for sure. I don't know if I put it as meta, but I think it's fringe meta. I think it's much better. It has a lot more coverage into something like Jump Bluff too, even though it still loses Jump Bluff, right? But yeah. Yeah, sorry. If I said something besides Green Attack nerf, my apologies. Dugong for sure feels very safe in this meta. Yeah. Where does Greninja go? Yeah, it's not on this list for a reason. I don't think Greninja is particularly good. Which is why I didn't have this on the list. Like, it doesn't really have anything to really hit back at the Feraligatr, right? Like, it has Night Slash, but it's kind of underwhelming. Whereas the Hydro Cannon is hurt a lot more, even for resisted. I think if you just want to run a water type, just run Feraligatr instead. It just gets walled off by Azumarill as well, whereas Feraligatr, even though it gets walled off by Azumarill, it can still beat Azumarill. Greninja can't do that, right? So I think that's why I didn't even include Greninja on this list. I think it's too off the mark, I think, in my opinion. Shout out Ursaring. Someone actually mentioned Ursaring earlier too. I don't think it's that good. There's a lot more better normal types. I think it's okay with the Swift buff, but I think if you're really trying to climb, I wouldn't use that as your normal type. Malmor and Pangoro are super fun in this meta, and I feel like they will shine extra hard in Ultra League. Yes, I agree. I've already played some Malmar in Ultra League because I play Ultra League slot for Battle Frontier, which is a grassroots team format, and I play Ultra League Show 6, and I brought it this week, and it was pretty nutty. I got to Hyper Beam something actually too, so that was kind of dope. Okay, so we have, what else we have? Lantern. Feels pretty bad right now. I'll keep it in this bad category. I don't think it's unusable, but I think it's pretty bad. Whiscash also feels like it feels bad. I just don't think it's as good. It's just way too slow, right? I've seen a few Swampert here or there. I think it's better than some of these other things, but I don't think it's good. I'll put Swampert maybe like here. Like, it's still, like, Hydro Cannon is still a hard-hitting move, but just not as good. I might put Lantern like ahead of this. I think it has a little more utility, but not much. Whiscash is just like so, I don't know. It's I'll just keep it here for now. I don't think it's that good. I don't think Bastion's that good either. I haven't even seen any. It's just like so hard to bring, right? I don't think it's like hot garbage or anything, but I just think like it's not like, there's not a lot of places for it. You see like Feraligatr, Gastrodon, and like Clodsire in like almost every team, right? Once in a while a fighter, like a Dunsparce even beats it. It's not good. You can maybe use it, but like if Carbing's hard to use, like Bastion's really hard to use right now. Go sleep, dog. It's actually not that late. It's not even midnight on my end. I'm in the West Coast. Do you need to sleep is a different question, right? I don't know what coast you live in. Oranguru, yeah, Oranguru is also just like not very meta. So I wouldn't even focus too much on that. It's ranked 110, you know. Yeah, out of normal types and psychic types, there are definitely better options. I think if you're determined to climb with it, you can, but you have to pair with 2 high meta Pokemon. But again, just like, why make your life harder for itself, right? I see a lot of people that struggle to climb sometimes and tell me the teams they run, and like right away I'll be like, you kind of lost the match on the lock-in screen. Like your 3 Pokemon you lock in are already too hard to use, right? They use like a, you know, it's like I remember they were using like a Florges and a Canto Marowak, and this was not even this season. It was like a past season, so like before they were buffed, right? Like an Excadrill or something. Like those are just hard things to use in Great League. Yeah. Where I'm at West Coast. Yeah. Where you at? That's the real question. You saying that about Bassi is your favorite Pokemon? Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, it's my favorite Pokemon to use in Great League, but it's not worth using right now. Yeah. Destroys Clodsire though? I mean, sure, but like, what's the point? There's so many other better things that, like, out of the things that could beat Clodsire, there's way better things, because you're gonna, like, yes, you might beat Clodsire, but then you end up losing to everything else that beats Clodsire as well, right? So like, why not just use the thing that's better into other things as well that also beats Clodsire, right? It just has way too, like, the reason why it's ranked so low is because it has so many other losing matchups that the other Clodsire counters don't, right? Generally speaking on P-Book, obviously it's always like a rough estimation on some things. Lickitung is actually just pretty bad right now. I wouldn't use. I just wouldn't use. I'll throw this in hot garbage. Put it like here, maybe. Yeah. I don't actually think it has any viability at the moment. There's so many other better things in it, and the Body Slam nerf just kind of solidifies it, I think. Medicham is, I don't know. It's just like not good either. I'll put it behind Bastion, I guess. Like, it's just that there's other fighters you could use instead of Medicham, whereas Bastion's kind of more unique in his coverage, but both are pretty bad. Pelipper's not good right now either. I think Pelipper's in an appropriate spot. I think Altaria is also not good either, so I'll keep it here. Like, all these things in the bad category could be like probably almost interchangeable in terms of what slot I put him in this category, but it's not good. Skarmory, okay, funny enough, I've seen actually a decent amount of Skarmory, and it's in the right position. It actually could be pretty good. It still like beats the grass types, and it still has some play into like the ground types and stuff. I don't think it's good. I think it's bad, but I think it actually has more play than some of these other things. I'll move it up right behind Swampert. I've lost to a decent amount of Skarmory, actually, surprisingly. Seems like some people just haven't adjusted the meta, but even though they haven't adjusted, like, it still has a small place in it. I wouldn't say it's good though, but I don't think it's actually not as bad as I imagined. Let me check to see Skarmory's counts now, because I know they reduced the energy gain on the Steel Wings. So yeah, instead of yeah, it costs 10 Steel Wings to get to Brave Bird and 9 to get to the next subsequent ones. And it's the same for Sky Attack. Yeah, that's actually pretty bad. That's pretty bad. Yeah, Sky Attack and Brave Bird being the same exact energy is like kind of hilarious, but it's not a good thing for Sky Attack purposes. But shows you good Skarmory how good Skarmory has been this whole time. Yeah, its typing is really solid, right? But I still don't think it's particularly good. You might see some people that be able to make it. Okay, so let's look at this hot garbage category. Gligar, pretty bad. It gets outpaced so fast to things. Like, it's actually just like kind of embarrassing. Lickitung, just there's so many other better options. Like, it's just like, why spend the resource on it these days? Galarian Stuff's got triple nerfed. Vigoroth got triple nerfed. Like, these are all just like things you almost never see. Like, I saw Gligar and like it literally got to like one move in the time that was alive, and they spent like a shield on it too, because it's just way too slow. Yeah. Empoleon, unsure. So now that I know, I just don't think it's good. I'll put it at bad. I don't think it's like hot garbage. You could use it with like Waterfall maybe in some metas, but there's just like better options for it. I think it's actually not that good in this meta anymore. But I wouldn't put it as bad as this, because Waterfall at least still has some utility here or there if you really want to run it. And then Jellicent is an interesting one too. So let's take a look at Jellicent's counts. So if you're running Body bubble, you get to surf on 5444, or like if you're running Hex, you get it on 4443. It's actually not too bad. You know, I don't hate it, but I don't think it's like good. I'll put it at like, I haven't really seen any of it because, yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's a decent amount of mana bus everywhere, and for alligators, kind of like choose through it a little bit. And there's not really, there's a lot of dark types too. So I think it's actually just like bad in this meta, but it could have some play. I just don't think it's like, I think it has to be very lucky on its matchups. Less Elections fires around to counter Skarmory too. Yeah, that's true. I just think like, again, if you want to run a flyer, run a different flyer. I don't think like, I think the problem is like it just like gets hard outpaced by Feraligatr. It just takes way too long to get the moves into stuff like Clodsire, right? But we'll talk about the other picks in this meta that have been buffed or changed in this recent update, and why like stuff like Skarmory might not be as good as it was even without even if I shouldn't say even if Steel Wind didn't get nerfed, but just in general. Machamp. Let's start with Machamp here. So Machamp is actually I'll start from the top actually of the list in terms of rankings. We'll go down from there. So Gastron's number 5 in the rankings. This is including Shadow. So Feraligatr is 3 and 4. So it's technically like the 4th best Pokemon if you take out Shadows. Gastron is number 5. It does feel really strong actually. Those Mudslaps really add up, and like the body slams, even though it's nerfed, like it still gets to them pretty quick, and Earth Power as well, pretty solid. So like body slam's not the best coverage move, but it does have something to hit back against grass, and just like being a reliable counter to Clodsire is really nice. There's many times I've seen this just like mud slap down my Feraligatr and stuff. Like it's just not like the damage is pretty intense, and then the body slams start coming out, and you kind of have to shield those too. So yeah, I would put Gastrodon right here for now, maybe even higher than Mana Bus. I don't know. Mana Bus is kind of unique in its role as a flyer in a dark flying type. Yeah, if Metal Claw gets it, the Vine Witch treatment for sure. I think Niantic's probably a little hesitant on that because there's so many good Pokemon that learn it, right? Like Dialga, Zacian, like I talked about this last time, but like a lot of the Master League Pokemon learned this. Metagross. So if they overtune Metal Claw too much, it's going to really screw up like the Master League meta by quite a bit. And I think that meta is generally in a pretty good spot right now. Obviously, Sucker Punch does help Yveltal a little bit, but I think for the most part, that meta is in a pretty decent spot. But that's something they always have to think about, right? Because if you make Metal Claw too busted, then you have to nerf all the moves that the legendaries have, and that just gets like kind of weird too, right? Or they just bring back the Metal Claw buffs. So I think that's always the main concern when it comes to Metal Claw specifically. As expected, Metal Claw buff was not actually that extreme. Clefable is number 8 on the list, behind Azumarill. It's okay. It's like I feel like Wigglytuff has a little bit more play because it at least resists the Shadow Claw damage. Like this thing doesn't really appreciate the Shadow Claw and Hydro Can damage. It takes neutral from Azumarill. It takes like a lot of neutral damage from Clodsire, while Clodsire resists a lot of his moves. Like I don't know. I don't feel like it's better than Wigglytuff. It might be better than Carbink, but not by much. I don't know. I don't think that one actually changed too much, even though the ranking suggests it's pretty good. Like here's the things it beats: Mandibuzz, Malamar, Shadow Machamp, Dunsparce. Okay, it could be Azumarill, but it still loses a bunch of the top meta picks, right? Like Feraligatr, Clodsire. Like if Feraligatr and Clodsire on most teams, at least Wigglytuff has something to do against a Feraligatr, whereas the Clefable doesn't really have anything to do against either of the two. Fortress Swift is solid. Yeah, that's true. But like, what's Swift gonna do to a Clodsire? And like, yeah, it's nice, but if the Shadow Claw damage adds up against it, like, you might as well just have the Charm damage from Wigglytuff, right? Yeah, in my opinion. You like in B? Yeah. Hey, what's up, King GBL? Welcome in. Clef is unrated. Yeah, I think it has utility. I just think it might be better in Show 6, but I think it's really hard to bring in GBL at least based on my experience. There's like a Clodsire on every team, at least every time I see it. Malamar's number 9. Yo, Malamar's the real deal. I think Malamar's actually really, really strong right now. I've seen some videos of people doing some nutty things with it, and just the pacing's so fast. And it's using a one-turn move, so like there's a lot more ways to optimize off of it and just like prevent your opponents from catching and all these things. I like it a lot, actually. I'll put it maybe like right here, maybe slightly above Gastrodon. I haven't used it myself, but I've seen it in action, and it's pretty strong. It's very, very strong. Obviously, it gets walled off by fairy types, but if you avoid that, pretty good. Pretty good. Jump off. Yo, jump off is strong too. I think there's a lot of things that like nearly one shot and stuff, but I think it's by far the best grass type. Obviously, Abomasnow beats and stuff, but it typically beats all the other grass types outside of that, and it has a lot of utility. I don't know if it's like S tier. Let's put it top at A tier for now. It kind of struggles against like Fralgator. Like if you get baited there, like the Ice Beam really hurts, especially if you're running acrobatics into the aerials. Like I was doing some scrims earlier today, and I got double baited by Hydro Cannon from the Fralgator, and I had 2 shields, they had 1 shield. I think they had some residual energy on it, but like I got double baited and I still got hit by Ice Beam before I get to an Energy Ball. So it kind of feels weird at times. Like being double weight to ice is not great because Zumro's all over the place too. But I'll put it at A for now. It's interesting. In the 2 shields with the Shadow Jump Love, you could beat the Mandibuzz going straight aerial ways. No acrobatics needed. That's kind of wild. When I found out about that, I was like, okay, this thing might have some utility. Actually, you know what? I'll put it S tier. I think it's by far the best grass type, I think, and it's probably the second best flyer. Maybe arguably the best flyer, depending on how you want to look at it. It also has that Fairy Wind damage for all these dark types, like Malamar and Pangoro and stuff. Besides Mandibuzz that I mentioned already. Pangoro, speaking of Pangoru's number 11. I can't run it myself because I don't have one that's eligible greatly. But I've seen some of it in action. I think it's good. I don't think it's like too good. I think it's good though. I'll put it here because it's weak to fighting, so it's like kind of loose to the other fighters. It also gets walled off by Zumro, but yeah, I don't know. It doesn't feel like its place is as strong in the meta as Malamar's, even though they throw like the same type moves. Malamar also can pivot over to Hyper Beam. Also, like Night Slash is your like dark move of choice, which doesn't hit that hard, and Karate Chop's not hitting that hard either. So like if you need dark damage, it's just like stacks up a little bit slow. If you need fighting damage, you need to debuff yourself close combat, right? So yeah, it's not yeah, I don't know if you're saying not super flexible for Malamar, but Malamar's not maybe the most flexible at times, if that's the case, but Pangoru's even less flexible if that's the case. Quagsire is number 12, which I talked about here. So, yeah. So anyway, we have oh, you meant Pangoru? Yeah, I agree there. Dunsparce is number 13. Dunsparce I think is really strong. I put it at meta. Honestly, it might be S tier. Actually, I'll put it S tier because it's the best normal type by far. It's better than Lickilicky. It's better than Miltank. It's better than Lickitung. Yeah, it's better than Wigglytuff, even though like Wigglytuff's also part fairy. But out of the normal types, I would say it by far is the best. And even though they nerf Rock Slide, the rollout damage like being increased like kind of negates that nerf, and also the rollout damage helps it with the drill run. It actually beats a Zumro in some situations, which is kind of nuts. So being able to beat a Zumro is actually pretty nice too. So yeah, I think it's very, very underrated too, and it has that resistance to the Shadow Claw. It has something to hit back at the Clodsire. Again, that rock ground type is super strong. You only just got like Chestnut resisting that combination, right? And you know, Chestnut's not even on this list, which says everything you need to know about it. Diggersby is at number 14. I don't think it got buffed, right? It's just moving up in the meta. It wasn't that meta last season, but it definitely has a lot more utility, especially in Clodsire. I put it at meta probably for now. Hard to say. I'll probably put it here, actually. Maybe even ahead of Cresselia. It beats Clodsire. It has a lot more play into Fralgator because it resists Shadow Claw, unlike other no ground types. It's not bad. It's really not bad. It's very bulky. So in neutral matchups, it's actually much, much better. I think it's actually really solid, yeah, in the A tier. No, Euphis mentioned. Yeah, I don't know. Euphis is kind of hard to use, especially with the Mudshot nerf. I mean, you have to use Thundershock, right? But there's just a lot of things that beat it. I don't know. I would love to see someone make it work, but like that's just not on my bingo card. What is Stunfisk? Unova Stunfisk even ranked? Yeah, it's ranked at 99. You know what's bad when it's ranked below Galarian Stunfisk? I have Galarian Stunfisk in hot garbage, and it's ranked like 16 values below that. So, I mean, again, I think it could be okay in certain situations, but like there's just better ground types, right? And I don't think we need electric types much. Action just made Chestnut look pretty good. I think so. I just think there's better ways to do it. Axe's also a former world champion, right? He can make most things look pretty good. But here's my guess. I don't think it's unusable, but anytime you use like a spice pick like that, I guarantee you the other two picks are probably meta picks, right? Let me double check his X account real quick to see what he ran. But I'm guessing he probably had like, I don't know, like a Malmar and something else on it, right? Where did he use Chestnut? I don't think he posted it on Twitter, but whatever. Let me know what his. I'm curious what his Chestnut team is if you know it. Shadow Drapion, Dugong were the things cover it. Yeah, those two are also, you know, definitely meta, right? I think it's okay. I think it has way less play in Show 6, but I think it definitely has some play in Great League. I tried it myself, and I just didn't love it. I guess wall off, I jump bluff, you know. It's like super awkward to mana buzz, stuff like that. Also, like, again, it's kind of like the Fraugator. Like, it's just like superior. If they land an Ice Beam, you're just done for. Or you have to shield the potential Hydro Cannon bait, you know. But you can't, like, counter swap easily. All those, like, 6 turns to their grass move Pokemon are just, like, not that reliable in a Fraugator meta, right? Because you can never counter swap it and get to your grass move before they get to the Ice Beam. Yeah, it can be caught sometimes. See, that's awkward. The fact that Chestnut could beat Clodsire sometimes, even though it resists Stone Edge and Earthquake, right? Obviously, Sludge Bomb and Clodsire are just going to beat it. But even though it resists the Stone Edge and Earthquake is kind of mad for Clodsire as a fact. Let me see. Let me just actually sim this real quick just to see what it looks like here. Yeah, you lose the 2 shields. That's nuts. You lose the 2 shield situation against Clodsire when you resist all of his charge attacks because it's just that frail and the poisoning does that much, right? Yeah, exactly. But the fact that the poisoning damage is wearing you down from one of the bulkiest Pokemon in Great League, that means that the poisoning doesn't hit as hard, and it's still enough to chunk you down, right? Also on Rangoon, yeah, someone asked me earlier, I think it's not that good. It's not worthy of being on the tier list. I think you could win with it, but you'll probably eventually hit a wall. Like, if you want to really climb in GBL, you'll probably want to use something else different, yeah. I don't think it's like you can't climb with it. I just think it's, yeah. The most disrespected types right now are grass and ice, yeah, for sure. That being said, though, there is a grass and ice type on this list that I think is actually pretty good in this meta, but it's, I think the combination of it is what makes it particularly good. But yeah, let's take a look at the rest of this list and see where we're at. So last thing I was looking up was Stunfisk, which, yeah, we all know how that went. Okay, so we have Marowak, Shadow Marowak. I don't know. I'm kind of mixed on this one. It's like okay. Like, obviously it hits hard with the Bone Club and stuff, but you just like lose to the other ground types usually, right? I mean, not Clodsire, but like Gastrodon beats it, right? Diggersby's going to beat it. It sims really well, but Carbink sims 11 spots above it, and you don't see Carbink anywhere, right? I think it's definitely fringe meta. I'll put it right here. I think it might have some play. Like, it definitely has hard winning matchups, but I think there's just better options. I don't think it's meta by any means. I've seen it a few times, and they also nerf Rockside. Like, maybe if they didn't nerf Rockside, it could be good. Its typing sucks, right? It's double weak to grass. It's double weak to water. It's weak to ice. It's weak to, like, you know, probably other things too that I'm missing. Maybe that's all the weakness. But just being double weak to grass and water is not good. That's my opinion. It has a lot of potential. Yeah, I tried so much, it got clapped. Yeah. Yeah, I went Abomasnow tonight and it went crazy. Yeah, for sure. My champion's coming up, actually. Toxapex is rank 16. Yo, this is actually just not good in this meta. It's definitely, like, okay in Sims, and it beats a lot of things, but you have Carbink at number 6, right? So obviously it's going to beat it. It walls off Azumarill, which is, like, top, like, 5 usage, I think, right? Or top 5 in the rankings is also high usage. So yes, you have that going for it, but there's Clodsire everywhere. And there's a bunch of ground types. It's actually pretty hard to use. Like, I think it has a lot of utility, but I just don't think it's, like, actually... It's like such a gamble to bring it, you know? There's just so many things that could beat it and just, like put you in a tough spot. And the pacing is just so slow on it. Again, I think anything that hard walls Azumarill that bad, I think should have some consideration. And it beats a lot of the grass types, but... It's just like, it's just such a gamble in this current meta. Maybe as the meta develops, there's less people using ground, but my guess is when, you know, November 30th comes around and we're about to go into new season, we're still seeing ground Pokemon everywhere before the new season, right? Yeah. Does anything beat Toxapex and Gastrodon? Like both of them combined? Probably not. But you could also say the same thing about, like... Well, let me see, actually. If Toxapex can't beat Fraugator, then that's awkward. Yeah, it beats Fraugator. Not Fraugator with Crunch, probably, but... Yeah, maybe not. But again, like, just because that's the case, I wouldn't pair the two together. You know, it's still like, it's still hard to bring, I think. But that is a solid pairing, actually. Now that you mentioned that, BB. Torterra? I don't think Torterra beats it. Don't you? I don't know. Actually, it might. But it's not going to cleanly beat Toxapex. Actually, Abomasnow. Abomasnow beats both. Probably. I don't know. Toxapex is okay. You know what? I mean, maybe I will change my mind about Toxapex. I think it has some utility here. You know what? I'll put it here. I think it's more unique than Marowak, at least, right? This typing. There's so many other ground types over Marowak. Toxapex is definitely more unique, especially in that poison front. Poison water front, I should say. Poison front, there's Cloud Sire everywhere. Jump Bluff. Oh, I already talked about. Oh, yeah, because it was a Shadow Jump Bluff, yeah. Bastion's number 18, which, again, you know the rankings aren't, like, fully accurate when Bastion's 18. In terms of, like, accurate to reality. Obviously, in The Sims, it's good, right? All right, Machamp is number 20. Shadow Machamp. Yeah, this thing's, like, pretty solid. I'll put it here. It's kind of scary in the right situations. Obviously, like, it gets walled off by Azumarill. Well, you have Rock Slide for it, I guess. It gets walled off by Cloud Slide, which is why you don't see a ton in GBL. But I think there's certain teams you could do to, like, if you lure out the Cloud Slide and you could sweep him a champ, I think it has a lot of utility. It gets to move so fast, like 4 cross chops, 4 Cry Chops to a cross chop, and then 7 to his Stone Edge. Like, it's stupid fast. And Shadow Machamp just hits so hard, right? I think it has a lot of utility. Anything that paces faster than a Feraligatr and could dish out damage is something worth considering. Because this is going to outpace the Feraligatr, at least to Hydro Cannons, which makes it a lot more usable. Obviously, it's super frail, but I think it's really good. Yeah, I'll run Stone Edge. The tough part about Machamp, the sad part about Machamp, is that it's super expensive to make. Because Karate Chop is Legacy, and so is Stone Edge. So you have to spend 2 elite charge TMs. Two elite TMs, 1 charge, 1 fast, to make the ideal moveset for it. But I think it's worth it, especially if you want to run it. I don't think you have to run it. I think in this meta, you don't even have to run fighters that often. But I think it's better than Pangoro, though, in my opinion. Lickilicky is at 21. It's okay. Like, it's not as bulky. I'll put it, like, I don't know. I'll put it as fringe meta. Like, why would you run this when you could just run Dunsparce, you know? Like, for the Shadow Ball, but, like, what's a Shadow Ball really doing for you? Like, the coverage from ground and rock is much better, in my opinion, than Shadow Ball, right? Or than even Earthquake. Because Earthquake, you just run the same coverage as the Drill Run. It takes longer to get to. I think it's fringe meta. I think it's probably... I'll put it here for now. It might be even higher up, potentially, but... Ranguru? Yeah. Oh, I thought, man, this is actually... I've never seen so many people bring up a Ranguru, actually, until now. Must be a lot of people using Ranguru to success here, but it's again, I think there's just better normal types. But it could be good if you get it locked into Clotsire, at least. Confusion Shadow Crest today and get some interesting wins with Moonblast. Licky should be on EQ, by the way. Yeah, I would agree that should be on EQ, too. You just have better coverage into Clotsire, at least. But again, like, they're resisting the rollouts, so dubbing won't. Yeah, it won't. Yeah, it'll be good in Great League, but great in Ultra League. Yes, I agree. I did actually use that as well on top of Malamar. I used that also today in Ultra League, in one of my Ultra League battles in Show 6 in the Grassroots format, and it was disgusting. It was actually very, very strong in Ultra League. I'll do an Ultra League tier list for now. This is just for Great League. Did Annihilate get nerfed or something? Yeah. The counter got worse. So I'll explain to you exactly how much worse. So counter generates less energy than before. So before you would get to a Night Slash every 5 counters, you get to every Ice Punch on 6, 6, 6, 5. But now for Night Slash, it's just straight 6 counters. For Ice Punch, it's 7, 7, 6, 7. And then for Shadow Ball, it used to be 8 counters to Shadow Ball. Now it's 10, 9, 9, 9. It's just so slow, right? It's much slower than before, and it might not seem much, but just even 1 extra counter means that it gets outpaced by Feraligatr, and it gets hard outpaced by Machamp, even though it resists everything from Machamp outside payback, I guess. But it's just not as reliable of a fighter anymore. And the thing is, it's not very bulky. So if it was like bulkier, maybe it had some play. I don't know. Machamp's super bulky and it's still not useful. But, you know, because it's so frail as well, any frail Pokemon that takes a while to get to their moves is just not worth using. That's why Frogger is so strong, because it's frail, but it hits really hard and it gets the moves very fast. If it takes a while to get to the moves, like if it didn't have Hydro Cannon, you wouldn't use it, right? What are you going to use? Crunch, Ice Beam, Hydro Pump? Like, it just takes way too long. The Hydro Cannon speed is what makes it really, really strong. Yeah. And unfortunately, Annihilate got nerfed in that regard on the speed category. I was going to cover just the top 25 Pokemon and then maybe some other fringe stuff. Aurorus is 22. Why is Aurorus at 22? I'm actually super confused. Also, this, I think, wait, I have Gucci here twice. I'll just ignore that then. But why is Aurorus at 22? Like, it's not good. I mean, yeah, it could beat Clodstar, I guess. And maybe the Flyers. But, like, other than that, it's really bad. I think it's just, like, kind of a sim hero, maybe. Or sim, like, warrior. I wouldn't say hero, because it's not even that good on the sim category. Sim hero would be Carbink, right? This is, like, I don't know. I don't think this is good. I wouldn't even put it at fringe meta. It's kind of a weird one. I put it at bad, actually. Yeah. I think it's, like, worse than Swampert, even. I don't know. It's very, very curious that it is at 22. All right, so what does it beat? It beats Jumpluff, Manabuzz, Goodra, Talonflame, Clodstar, sure. But it just loses all the waters and, like, everything else. Like, yeah, you beat Clodstar, but just run something else that beats Clodstar at that point. And again, you get hit by super effective Earthquake on from that, too. And, I think Stone Edge is also super effective, too. So, yeah. Yeah, because the rock doesn't resist rock, right? So it's going to be weak because of ice typing. With Shroud, Traffic, and Drifblim, Deep Con. This is why you didn't win Worlds, because you're asking these questions. What's up, Deep? He's a friend of mine, so he's just trolling. But I see a lot of Drifblim. It's never good for me. Yeah. Oh, good for you. Oh. Well, I mean, it does wall off the Gastrodon. I think it's all those one of those things that are like, yeah, it's interesting, but just not as good. What curious how far Drifblim is. Drifblim is 103, and it got Astonish buffed. So that says something. And then to humor Adib, we'll see. Girafarig is at 349. It's pretty bad. I'd run a Ranger over that at that point. Haven't seen a single Aurorus? Yeah. No, definitely not. I haven't either. All right. Shadow Drapion is unfortunately the correct pronunciation, not Drapion. It's officially pronounced Drapion per the Pokemon Company, which I hate too, but it is what it is. I think it's actually really good. I think the pacing is kind of fast. There's a lot of ground types, but it's like the poison thing is really nice. And again, it paces kind of quick. It doesn't pace us. I mean, paces just as fast for Alligator to the Crunch, right? But it paces faster to the Aqua Tail, which is nice. So you have some bait potential. I think it's like meta. I don't think it's like good, but I think it's meta. I'll put it here. I'm gonna put an S tier, but it has a lot of play. It feels fairly safe as well. And the poison thing's nice, especially if you're running like Aqua Tail Crunch. Yeah, it sucks against the Zermo because you only have resist attacks against it with charge attack. But if you can debuff or Crunch, the poison things really add up. It's actually not that bad. I played that matchup with the Zermo as a Zermo earlier, and like it wasn't that comfortable for the Zermo, even though you resist all the charge attacks. Yeah, this is surprising well into Mud Stoppers. Yeah, for sure. When Shadow Machamp went down P-Poke list, yeah, probably. So obviously I mentioned this last time too, but before the season actually started, even P-Poke had to estimate what the energy values were. So that list was always subject to change, which is why I'm creating this tier list after the season started rather than before. Any tier list made before the season started is going to be slightly inaccurate at the very least, or if they're super lucky, they just guessed the energy values right or the spot in the tier list right, because no one actually knew the energy values until, yeah, exactly until the season started. 2 moves KO Gastrodon. That's nuts from Shadow Drapion. Drapion, I should say. Yeah. Okay, and then 25th on this list is Registeel. We talked about is just like not good. So outside of that, let's move down the list a little bit more. Okay, I think the hot garbage category, like specifically, I used to call Golurk hot garbage. I think the first time I ever called anything hot garbage was Golurk, and I gotta say, yo, Golurk beat the hot garbage allegations because it's actually not bad. I don't think it's good. I don't think it's meta, but that thing actually slaps. And I mean, like, pun intended, the Mud Slap actually does quite a bit of damage. I'll put it like right here, you know? I think I put it here. Quagsire I think is interesting, but I actually think it's pretty strong in the fringe meta. It could tank an Earthquake. At least mine can. Maybe it's IV dependent, but it could tank an Earthquake from the Clodsire as well. You resist Stone Edge too, so like if they don't land a bait, it's not that great. I've Mud Slap down way more for Alligator than I care to mention or even remember. And I've even taken out like Jump Bluff and stuff. Oh no, I've taken out Mantine with it. Up a shield, I think. I was able to take it out with just a Mud Slap and Shadow Punch damage, which is kind of nuts. Mantine's obviously not as good as it used to be. So yeah, I think Golurk's actually fringe meta, and if you haven't noticed, if you can't read between the lines by now, I've been running a Great League myself. So be on the lookout for a video on that. But I've been running Golurk. It's actually pretty solid. Yeah, Dynamic Punch is solid for Mana Buzz. Mana Buzz definitely beats it pretty handily, but it is nice. Yeah, Shield once and farm down Shadow Drapion. Yeah, solid coverage options too. Yeah, it's actually really solid. I don't think it's like good in GBL. I don't think it'll be good in Show 6 Championship Series format, but whenever, who knows. I have some duplicates here, so I'm not going to mention the duplicates, obviously. And we have, where is the next one? All right, I'll just type it in because, oh yeah, Alola Marowak's at number 38. Zionix's a buddy of mine, and I know he calls us the GOAT, but I don't think it's the GOAT. I don't think it's that good, honestly. The Bone Club buff was nice, but there's too many ground and water types in this meta. There's also Mana Buzz, a bunch of dark types. It's not that good. I'd probably put it at bad. It might be fringe. I don't even think it's that fringe meta. Like, yeah, the fire type's nice, but like, there's just other ways to beat grass types. And grass types are like King GBL mentioned earlier. A lot of people disrespect grass types, and I think that's for fair reason. I just don't think it's particularly good right now. Bone Club buff definitely helps it, but it's not really good. At least it's like could be in the meta, but yeah, I don't think it's that good. Has your AWAC Sableye return? I don't know, man. I think Azumarill plus 2 other Pokemon would be a better option, but yeah, that was an OG team. That was pretty solid back in the day. First time I tried with Shadow Golurk, Abomasnow, Dugong. Ooh, that's a fun looking team. That actually looks really strong. What did you end up losing to? Actually looks pretty strong. It's really solid ABB coverage. Hey, what's up, Tyler Parker? Yeah, appreciate it. Hope you have a good night as well. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate the comments. All right, we're almost done with this list, so let's continue on through it. I'm just going to search these two because I don't remember exactly where they fall on the list. Abomasnow's at 64, Shadow Abomasnow, and the regular is at 82. This is one of those Pokemon where, like, even though it sims poorly, I think it's actually really, really good. Obviously, there's a bunch of, like, rock and, like, fire types up there, but you can see that fire types aren't super relevant. Rock types even less relevant. I think Abomasnow is actually really solid. I'd probably put it at top of meta. It might even make it an S tier. It's so weird, right? But it's just, like, it has so much good coverage. It could beat this. It could beat this. It could beat this. It could beat this. It could beat the Gastrodon. It beats the Jump Bluff. Honestly, I'm going to put it at S tier. It's like a really sneaky S tier pick. It's not the easiest to use, but I think its coverage in this particular meta is really, really strong. It's like one of those Pokemon that like don't ever sim well, but actually perform much better. And it's a much better, like, it's just really good to what everyone's bring, or like what a lot of people bring. So I actually think it's really, really strong. I mean, it beats this as well. Like, it has play into a lot of things. I think if you haven't faced one yet, you probably don't know. But if you have faced one, you'll see. Like, it's actually pretty strong. Or even if you use it yourself too. But yeah, that's kind of surprising that it's ranked 64 and 82, Shadow and non-Shadow respectively. All right, and this last one, I actually scrimmed against one earlier tonight. I scrimmed against Arrow, for those that know him. Twitch streamer, GBLer, and frequent attender of tournaments. And I faced off against this Galarian Moltres, and Sucker Punch got a buff. I don't know. This thing is actually sneaky good. It can also beat Mana Buzz, which is kind of interesting. But the fact that it has Brave Bird and Ancient Power, it actually has really good coverage. It doesn't really need a Dark move, especially with its typing and Sucker Punch doing more damage. It's actually, like, kind of insane what it could do. I'll get some respect on it and put it at fringe meta for now, because I wouldn't, like, when someone beats me in GBL, I won't even be surprised by it. If someone beats me in an official tournament format, I would not be surprised by it either. So, yeah. But, yeah, that's, I think, how I'm going to place it. Obviously, these are some duplicates, so I'm not going to place them. They've already been placed. But, yeah, I lost him in San Antonio. Yeah, he's a very good battler. He's willing to try a lot of spice things. And, again, just be on the lookout for Galarian Moltres. That's unfortunately the only Galarian bird I don't have. let's go with my tier list. So best of luck to you all on the remaining rest of the climb. Alone Sandslash, I think right here, which I think is okay, but there's just way too many ground types, and you know, fighters and stuff like that, and waters that resist it. It just got outpaced by Feraligatr too, right? So low kicks copium. Yeah, someone did mention low kicks earlier. But yeah, that's gonna be my tier list. Let me know your thoughts. I think for the most part, I feel pretty good about it. If there's a big meta shift in Great League, then this might not be accurate. But so far, from my 70 battles in, you know, the meta so far this week, this feels pretty good. I think some things might change, especially in like Show 6 Championship Series. That might move some things around. But I think for GBL purposes, it's pretty solid. Any good team recs? Yeah, now that you, for anyone that stayed towards the end of the stream, I'll drop what I've been running. This season I've been running Jumpluff non-shadow, but I might actually swap out for a shadow one, and then I've been running Shadow Feraligatr and Shadow Golurk. Oh, so I'd be running triple shadows actually at that point, but the Shadow Golurk is disgusting, and I'm telling you, there's like a Clodsire on every team, and I see Clodsire just like in the background. I don't see the third Pokemon. I had Clodsire as my third. I'm like, I'm probably gonna win this, right? Manabuzz is also definitely a little bit annoying for my team overall, so I do have to try to draw it out with a Feraligatr. But outside of that, and Abomasnow, ice types in general, just kind of annoying for my team. I've had to dance around some of those, but like I definitely got steamrolled by a Dugong lead earlier, so that does happen. Glowing Motion should be even crazier in Ultra League, yeah, for sure, especially with all the Giratina. Aegislash would be a cool one. I have no idea. I think we have plenty to play around with in the meta for at least a little bit. My prediction is always like, when do people get bored of this meta? Because people always are eventually going to get bored of a meta. But yeah, who knows? This one might last a little bit longer because of all the change. You love Golurk? Yeah. I was a hater for a while, but they finally did Golurk right. And if you want to try a team out, try the team I mentioned. But I'll drop a YouTube video on it as well. So... do we know how the form change works? No, we don't. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Anyway, this is my tier list. So thank you all for tuning in and for watching. And stay tuned because I will have a tier list for Ultra League right around when Ultra League starts. Because I had to wait a little bit for Great League because I had to get, you know, figuring out what some of these energy values are and how it actually looks in the meta. But I'll probably have the Ultra League tier list out much sooner, so you all can adjust for that. But Ultra League tier list is going to look pretty interesting too, because a lot of these Pokemon are going to be, some of them are going to be way stronger in Ultra League. Primarily like Malamar. Malamar's already S tier, but Malamar, Lickilicky, definitely pretty nuts. But okay, thanks all for joining in. Hope you have a great evening or a great day, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace out.